In a San Diego hotel room, a young millennial is preparing to speak to a crowd of hundreds.
I remember being in school and oftentimes having conflict with those in authority and those in power. If you don't speak up, if you don't cry out, if you don't advocate for yourself, then nothing will change.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Movie star?
No, not even.
From Stockton, California, Michael Tubbs is the youngest mayor ever in his hometown.
I'm in office after you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, man. Good to
see you.
And he's not alone. Right across America, millennials on both sides of politics are planting flags at the local level.
5, 6 minutes. Okay.
In some cases, they're just 16 years old.
He's awesome, man. Young mayors are taking over the country. So, I think it's great. I think,
well, he's a young mayor himself. He's the mayor of Long Beach.
I think the more young mayors we have, the better.
Nice to see you.
I see you. Y'all did something I liked on Facebook recently.
I want to find out what's behind the millennial mayor phenomenon.
Or something that was dope.
So I'm following Michael Tubbs, who's about to take the stage at California's Democratic Convention.
Susanna's great, man. I can tell you, I'm so jealous. I love Susanna. Give me a hug, pleasure. Janet, Michael, pleasure. Yeah.
Millennials are known for disrupting old norms and laying waste to convention.
Nice to meet you, Madam Supervisor.
And these Democrats agree that's what the United States needs right now.
Good to see you guys.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I was elected on November 8th, 2016. So I was elected the same day President Trump was elected. I absolutely think the current president has created in people an urgency around understanding that these things we take for granted, these freedoms, these values, aren't a given, that you have to fight for them.
Millennials are organizers. Millennials are entrepreneurs, and millennials are disruptors. And I am proud to be a millennial.
But does a generation often slated for narcissism and a crappy work ethic have the chops to change America?
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It's not just Democrats who are hungry for change. Republicans swept Trump to power to drain the swamp they call Washington.
We are transferring power and giving it back to you, the people.
While it was mostly older voters who put Trump in the White House, many of his policies weigh heaviest on the young.
The whole damn system is guilty as hell!
Whether they're marching against racism, for women's rights, or greater restrictions of firearms.
What do we want? Gun control! When do we want it now?
Everyone who has been touched by the cold grip of gun violence understands.
Never again! Never again!
It's the young who are fighting back.
The adults have failed us. This is in our hands now. And if any elected official gets in our way, we will vote them out and replace them ourselves.
In Holyoke, Massachusetts, another young mayor has taken the reins of his city. Once home to paper mills that created American millionaires, today Holyoke's factories are boarded up and jobs are increasingly scarce. Alex Morse wants to turn around the decay.
Good morning. How are you? Your hair is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
For the first time in a long time, you see new people and young people, thousands of them all over the country, diverse backgrounds, running for office, pulling papers to run for office, knocking on doors, organizing around issues. And so if it took Donald Trump winning the election to inspire thousands of people around the country to get involved in their local government, I think that's a positive thing. And we've been seeing this revolution of sorts of young people flipping districts and running for office. And this whole idea of waiting your turn has sort of been thrown by the wayside.
Millennial Mayor Morse was elected when he was just 22 years old. He replaced a 67-year-old woman at City Hall. He's now been mayor for 6 years.
Got a pretty impressive photo collection here, man. Tell us who you've met so far.
Yeah, so when I first got elected, I was 22, and I got an invitation from the Obamas to join them at the White House for a holiday party. I'll say he's probably going to be the best president of my lifetime. But I'm still young, so you never know.
Wow, did you ever think there that you'd be running the place?
My friends would say yes. I would, maybe. I remember when I first became mayor and I walked in the office the first few weeks, and it was sort of surreal in that, you know, am I really the mayor? Hi, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
The novelty of a young mayor hasn't worn off in this small city.
There's usually like a lot of excitement, especially in the Puerto Rican community, about seeing the mayor and whatnot. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
But to fix the town's crippling unemployment, Alex needs the community to think big. And in true millennial style, his latest solution is disruptive and for some, controversial.
Well, marijuana, it's now legal for both medicinal and recreational purposes. You know, we have all of this empty mill space in the downtown as well. That's perfect. That's the perfect space for growing marijuana, and it's also very passive use. So it's not as if you'll even know what's happening inside some of these factories until you go in.
Right. So how will it help the town?
Well, for us, it's going to be an economic driver. It's going to impact real estate. It's going to be a job producer. So help us with workforce development, putting people back to work.
Alex's plan to save Holyoke has yet to be fully tested.
Hey Mark, how are you? Yeah, good to see you too.
Dr. Glenn Morse.
Hi, how are you?
But it starts here, at the town's first marijuana factory, which will start growing crops in just a few weeks.
We got a lot of work. We still got a lot of work to do. I mean, if we're going to pass this thing on Tuesday next week. So
the factory is being run by this man, Pete Caden.
This is the mother room, fundamentally the most important room in the entire building. All of our genetics start here.
Pete runs a cannabis cultivation company called Green Thumb Industries, which already operates across 5 US states.
So we took a 19th century pre-war building that was an old paper mill, and we turned it into a beautiful state-of-the-art facility. I invested about $12 million in this building. And this building, starting next week, will be one of the largest facilities in the state of Massachusetts growing marijuana. Very exciting.
Together, Alex and Pete hope the weed factory will employ up to 100 locals. This morning, they're holding a jobs forum to get the community on side.
GTI is the first company that's beginning to invest millions of dollars here. We're very excited to have you and your team here, Pete. We're looking forward to moving forward on the dispensary and other investments, and count on us to continue to support your growth in the city of Holyoke.
But selling this business in a small town hasn't been easy. While Alex gains momentum, the city council is pushing back.
I've never seen politics played anywhere else in the United States like I've witnessed them being played here in Holyoke. And they make the mayor's life very, very difficult.
Kevin Jourdain recently retired as president of Holyoke City Council after serving for 24 years. He's helped wage a tireless campaign to prevent the weed industry setting up shop.
For Holyoke to be now known as the exporter, as our illustrious chief executive would have us believe, that we'll become the mecca of marijuana, that only feeds into the stereotype of this community. Yeah, you know, maybe I'll go down there to pick up a bag of weed, but I sure as hell ain't gonna live there.
Kevin is an active Republican and Trump supporter, but he claims the issue isn't partisan. He'd like to attract middle-class families to Holyoke and says the marijuana industry will put them off.
We need to have a strong redevelopment that says we're worth more than just McDonald's and gas stations. And we need the mayor to be advocating for that and not doing what he's doing, which is, I'm gonna bring in more vices to even harm the reputation. He needs to address that.
Mayor Morris has studied economic development in downtown Holyoke and our mill buildings like he was getting his doctorate. It's been the school of hard knocks too, right?
Exactly.
The mayor's young. He got elected when he was 22. And I think people just had impressions of him because he was young. And they took those impressions and they kind of molded their prejudice towards Alex.
Is this just where somebody who's, you know,
in their 40s disagrees with someone in their 20s?
No, I think what it is more of experience. This isn't about some old fuddy-duddy 46-year-old city council president. I just happen to listen to common sense, and he doesn't.
I think there was this unspoken resentment from some members in the community that I, at 22, had decided to run for mayor and won. As young people, it's mistaken for arrogance, and the accusation of arrogance wouldn't be there if it was a 50 or 60-year-old man in this office.
Not only is Alex young, he's also gay. Millennials are twice as likely as boomers to identify as LGBTQ.
I didn't really know many people that were gay growing up in Holyoke, and I'm sure others could relate. You would just, you'd go to bed at night and you would hope and pray that you would wake up normal the next morning.
But his family stood by him all the way.
Good to see you.
You too. Just making a salad here.
Yeah. You're missing the meat.
The youngest of three boys, Alex's mum was a childcare worker and his dad a factory worker.
I know you usually eat by 5 or 5:30, so we're pushing it.
I know. I'm usually in bed by 5:45.
He came out to them when he was 16.
When I started talking to people about running for mayor, a lot of people had said, well, don't run for mayor yet. You're not ready, you're too young, you're gay, people aren't gonna vote for a 22-year-old openly gay, progressive person that hasn't held elected office before.
What did you think when you found out that he was going to run for mayor of Holyoke?
So just kind of prepared the family for, try to stay calm when they hear, people arguing with them or calling them bad, things that aren't popular.
Criticizing.
I mean?
And
yeah,
did that happen a bit?
Yeah, oh yeah. It still does to this day.
His biggest champion and supporter was his mum, who passed away just 3 weeks before his third-term re-election.
She's like, do you want to go sit in your room and on the bed and chat? So eventually I got the courage and just said, Mom, I'm gay. And I think she grabbed my hand and she just told me that she loved me no matter what, because she couldn't imagine why anybody wouldn't love their son or daughter the way they are. And that was always special to me, and I carry that through today, knowing that my mom was that kind of person and instilled those values in me. So.
You proud of this guy? Absolutely. Every day.
Can I get some food?
Oh, I know.
Can I get a little food out?
Yeah, you might be able to.
Not all millennial mayors are as progressive as Alex Morse.
Thank you.
There are young Republican mayors too.
He wants to sit up higher than everybody else. The mayor's
But it's the Democrats who need to attract the young the most if they're to regain power in Washington. Back in California, I'm meeting up again with 27-year-old Mayor Michael Tubbs.
So this is my office. This is where we have...
Making a name as an Instagram mayor, he's been endorsed by Barack Obama and supported by Oprah. His wedding even made the New York Times.
You have to do a bit of decorating when you got in here?
Yeah, we did a whole revamp.
The big debate in the US right now is gun control, and Stockton is no exception. When Mayor Tubbs was elected, Stockton was home to more murders per capita than Chicago and Afghanistan. For Michael, its mix of poverty and easy access to guns is no longer someone else's problem to fix.
Growing up, you see people working hard and fighting and struggling against something, but no real language as to what that something is. And up to the left is the teen center. This is where I did a lot of my young political activism. So I was in high school, I was the chair.
Michael moved around a lot as a kid, and like many of his generation, watched on as poverty rates and gun violence in Stockton got worse.
So it's personal for me because I lived there. And I knew what it was like to go to sleep, listen to gunshots, for example, or not being allowed outside to play because it wasn't safe.
While Michael was interning at the White House, his cousin was shot and killed back in Stockton. This made Michael want to come back and change his hometown, a town where his own dad still serves a life sentence in prison.
How old were you when your dad was incarcerated?
My entire life, so from the time I was born until now.
Wow. So you've never known him outside of incarceration?
Yeah, I mean, he was out for a little bit when I was younger, like a month or two, but for the most part, yeah, just been incarcerated.
What was that like?
I think growing up at first, it was a little bit of a embarrassment. I felt like that, because the way this country has, especially around folks who break the law, I felt like there was like a stigma attached to me, like there was something wrong with me. So I would just make up all these crazy lies about what my dad was or why he wasn't in the picture. So I think a lot of my passion, especially around criminal justice and things of that sort, it stems from that experience.
Michael Tubbs wants to fix his city's gun problem with a controversial idea. He's planning to pay criminals to turn their backs on crime.
Hey, Chief.
Mayor, how you doing this
morning? I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Good to see you.
Helping him is this man, Police Chief Eric Jones.
Obviously, wherever there's high crime, there's a lot of other things going on.
Called Advanced Peace, the idea aims to link potential offenders with social services to address the root causes of crime.
But long-term, we're not the solvers of the root causes of crime. So,
if they stay out of trouble for 6 months, they're paid a stipend of up to $1,000 a month.
When I first heard about it, I was torn, because there is something about giving cash to guys active in gun violence that just rubs a lot of people wrong, and including me in the beginning. But when I began to take a step back and look at if this can actually reduce gun violence and can stabilize some of these guys, and it's a stipend tied to certain things over certain periods of time, if it can help reduce shootings, then maybe it's a good thing.
Advanced Peace will roll out in Stockton in the next few months. If it's to succeed, it needs the community to work with police.
This is a neighborhood that's filled with drugs. It's a drug-infested neighborhood, drugs, gangs, and like I said, a lot of poverty, a lot of the homelessness.
Raymond Aguila mentors at-risk teens in some of Stockton's worst areas. And I'm keen to find out if he thinks Tubbs's ideas are realistic.
If they seen you guys walking around here, you guys would become victims of a robbery or something. People will see you.
Raymond wants to show me how entrenched the cycle of poverty and crime is here. So we're heading to meet some of Stockton's most infamous long-term drug dealers, or as he calls them, Grandma and Mum.
Come on in. This is my mother right here. Don't worry about it.
Oh, my hands are cutting some Kentucky.
Yeah. And this is my grandmother. She's in bed. She has 2 strokes.
Raymond himself was just 16 when he went to prison, spending the next 26 years behind bars for shooting 2 men who were stealing from his grandmother.
This is my sister who stays here.
Nice to meet you.
Recently freed, he wants to stop others following in his path.
You know, they make the best of it, of what they can do. That's
9 people and 4 generations are in this 2-bedroom house.
What's up, Grandma? You okay? Grandma's feisty. She did some prison time too. Grandma's did about 3 or 4 prison sentences. Big Mama Cool from the P, she throws it up. Yeah. At a very young age, because of drugs, my mother ended up shooting my father. My mother shot my dad with a .357 and almost killed him. So that was very traumatic growing up. Years later, my grandmother actually shot my grandpa, shot him in the head with a gun. So these are all traumatic experiences brought on by drug addiction. And oftentimes we, the children, are left behind to see all the things that are going on. So I'm gonna do everything I can to stop that cycle so that way this young man, Jourdain, come here. That way this young man doesn't go through those type of things.
For some, Mayor Tubbs's advanced peace solution is too radical, dubbed cash for criminals by its critics. But Raymond questions whether it's radical enough.
Would that have helped someone in your situation growing up?
I mean, I think I needed a whole lot of other things other than advanced peace, but that advanced peace is a start. But I just was dealing with so much other trauma in my life that that advanced peace would just be an inkling of the help that I needed.
Millennials now outnumber baby boomers in the United States, but they're still underrepresented in politics. They're going to have to fight hard to upset the old guard.
Oh, that was done just expertly.
Thank you so much. I eat a lot of avocados. It's like my daily
At
thing.
their home, I meet Michael's wife, Anna.
No rebuttal.
She says millennials are ready to step up into a political landscape that's been ignoring young people and minorities.
One of the primary challenges is years of leadership that did not represent the majority of the city, and therefore marginalized issues were not really at the forefront of the agenda. The fact that Michael is the first African-American mayor of the city is crazy. There have been African-Americans here for a very long time, and I think that the fact that it happened in 2017 is really indicative of an issue that we were facing here. Yeah.
At 25 years old, Anna is now the First Lady of Stockton. Her and Michael's rise to power reflects the attitude of a generation that isn't prepared to wait.
I told you, he has a problem.
I'm about to get them on my Instagram, that's why.
He always has an excuse for it. He always has an excuse for it, too. Michael is obsessed with his phone. I'm often competing for love between Stockton, his phone.
We'll write you okay. And reply to your texts.
Having lived through the tough times in Stockton, Michael's mother and grandmother are excited for change and are among his biggest supporters.
I can wait till Trump reads one of your tweets.
Me too.
Yeah.
Look, I know you're ready. I know you're ready. Look at him.
He's waiting for it.
I can't wait. It's going to be funny. Yeah. It's going to be funny. I'm a toast to the amazing women in my life.
Hey, that's right. Right.
Cheers.
But as Michael celebrates, there are moves being made to cut short his grand plans for Stockton.
A group of people in Stockton are starting an effort to recall Mayor Michael Tubbs.
Neglects public safety, resulting in an increase in violent crimes and homicides. Wants to pay suspected violent criminals to not shoot people.
In Stockton, California, Brenda Vasquez is petitioning to get millennial mayor Michael Tubbs sacked.
Wow, so how many names do you think you've got there?
We got a magical, like I said, at the meeting the other night, about 3,000. So,
And how many do you need?
15,918. But
Wow.
we're planning on going above that number.
Brenda leads a group of community activists on Facebook. She claims the mayor is acting irresponsibly with city funds. She doesn't approve of his financial incentives to curb crime or his love of the limelight.
The crime is the top issue. We don't see him out in the public addressing the crime or trying to put more police officers.
Mayor Tubbs says that he has a very good relationship with the police chief.
Yeah, he does, I believe. Does it mean that the crime is being addressed?
When we stop, Brenda shows me the city's annual crime statistics. It doesn't look good for Tubbs.
49 homicides for the last 3 years, 2014, 15, and 16, 49 each year. This last year, in 2017, we had 55 homicides. Yeah.
What do you want done with the pan, please?
So there's the reasons for signing, and on the back, if he wasn't out doing publicity and working more with the police department, if he would maybe be on TV and say, hey, you know what, we need more police in Stockton. You're reinventing Stockton, but why are you not reinventing to get more police officers?
Is it an age thing?
Nope, it has nothing to do with age.
In less than half an hour, Brenda has 4 more signatures.
You'll sign? Okay. So what we need
She still has 4 more months to file the petition. With momentum like this, Michael Tubbs doesn't have long to deliver results.
So should Mayor Tubbs be worried?
I would say so. I would say yes. Do you guys think Mayor Tubbs should be worried?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
he is worried. He's worried.
Back at the Democratic Convention in San Diego, any concern about this petition is a distant thought as the party looks to the future.
My grandmother would tell me that thousands of years ago, there was a nation in crisis. I do think of the need to kind of not prove, but just to be excellent, to govern well and to do well, because my performance will dictate the opportunities for people after me. So that's a bigger responsibility. These young people you see on this stage are going to lead the way for us to face the giants we are facing today.
Millennials are the sleeping giant of US politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Millennials are potentially the largest voting bloc in the United States. If young people turn out and vote at every election at every level, from school committee member all the way up to President of the United States, like the difference we can make is like, it's bigger than we can ever imagine.
These young mayors and their controversial ideas are a long way from proven success. But one thing's for sure, they're debunking myths about millennials being politically unengaged and self-centered, and they could affect real change.
Well, I think if you look at any major social movement in American history, youth or younger people have been at the forefront. So for example, Dr. King was 26 when he led the Montgomery bus boycotts. The whole Occupy movements and the Black Lives Matter movements and now the Parkland shooting movements, the Me Too movements, all these movements have been brought to the forefront by younger people. So I think we'll see more of the same.